Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to be learning about the organization of life and ecological factors that are involved in the organization of life. This is the beginning of the notes that we're going to be covering, talking about all of the aspects of ecology. But we're going to start off by talking about the way life is organized in an ecological setting. Now, ecology is the study of the interactions among living things and living things within their surroundings. When any living thing interacts with something else, an ecological relationship occurs. Now, this can be as simple as an organism going through another organism's territory, or it can be as complex as organisms breaking down other dead things to create things for then that organism to then go off of, and then we would eat those plants, and then we would gain some kind of energy and produce products for then another organism to take in. But ecology is looking into these relationships and how these things interact with everything around it. So to start off, the smallest piece of this whole system is the organism. So the organism is an individual living thing. And we're talking about all the way down to the smallest microbe, all the way to an elephant, the largest living organisms that we can think of. But an organism doesn't matter in the size. If it has all the characteristics of life, it's considered living. So we look at those living things when we look at the organism. Furthering into that, then we have the population. So a population is a group of organisms of the same species that live in one area. So for example, all of the students here at North Division High School are considered a population because we are all of the species Homo sapien. And being all Homo sapiens, we belong then of that Homo sapien population here at North Division. Now, at the community level, we have a larger view. So the community is a group of different species that live together in one area. So any living organism within inside of North Division High School could be considered a community. Now, this could be from any type of bugs that could be living, say in the ceilings or things like that, the microbes that are living on your skin and on the places that you touch. Or could be things that are found in the water that are in the water here that are living, to the different humans. If we ever have any animals that are come through, they would be a part of the area. And the grass outside right around the school could also be involved within this community as well. Now, even far larger than that, we have something known as the ecosystem. So the ecosystem includes all of the organisms as well as the climate, the soil, the water, the rocks, and other non-living things in a given area. So everything inside of North Division would be considered part of its ecosystem. So we've already established in the previous slide that the community of all the living things would be there, but we're talking about the carpet, the bricks, the water itself. We're talking about the different rooms, the different clothing, all of the pieces that are inside of North Division can be a part of its ecosystem. Now, on a larger level, outside of North Division, we're talking about temperature changing, the amount of minerals and things that are found in the soil, and different types of pollutants and things that humans can do also be affecting this ecosystem. So when we talk about humans' impacts on ecosystems later on, we're going to be talking about the things that humans do to affect these different pieces, which then affect the communities, the populations, and then individual organisms down the line. Now, a biome is a major region or global community of organisms that has some kind of definition to where it is. So, for example, the tundra being very, very snow-covered, we look at the plant life there. It's often very small little shrubs, very close to the ground, so as they don't lose that much heat, and the climate being oftentimes much below zero for most of the year. We have temperate climates and temperate forests, which is where we live in, where the temperature fluctuates and the trees lose their leaves in the winter time. That's different than the tropical rainforest where the trees do not lose their leaves and it'd be warmer and rainier. So when we look at biomes, we're looking at things that are usually classified based on their climate. So usually the weather and the amount of moisture, and the plants that live there, which are often influenced by the weather and the amount of moisture. So here's our organization of life. I didn't talk about biosphere because our biosphere is known as Earth. So it would be the entire Earth itself. But we start from the organisms. A group of organisms of the same species become a population. Multiple populations living together in a given area are communities. multiple communities, as well as the non-living things within an area make up the ecosystem. And the multiple ecosystems, which can be considered biomes and other things, come together to make up the entire biosphere, which is Earth. Now, I've talked about living things and non-living things, but in ecology, we use two terms. They're known as biotic and abiotic factors. And we're going to start with biotic factors. Bio meaning life. So a biotic factor is a factor that is living that makes up part of an ecosystem. So some examples of a biotic factor that we deal with on a daily basis would be the bacteria that are found in our bodies that help us break down food, and the bacteria that are found outside of us on our skin that actually help protect us from a lot of infections oftentimes. There's a belief that we have to try to get rid of as much bacteria as possible, but in the grand scheme of things, bacteria are helpful to neutral and don't actually harm us. It's very rare that we actually have bacteria that harms us. And also, other humans in the world around us are biotic factors for us as well. I am influenced by what kind of humans live on the same block as me, by humans who live in the same apartment building as me. So they are factors that affect my life as well. Now, on the other side, we have abiotic factors, bio meaning life, but if we put a in front of it, meaning not, so not living factors. An abiotic factor is something that is non-living that makes up part of our ecosystem. So one of the big factors that we have here, say at North Division, is temperature. Temperature will change depending on how it is outside. We are heated by a boiler. The boiler will change temperatures, and therefore the temperature of our little ecosystem here changes. Also, the amount of rainfall affects it as well. We just recently experienced snow in the middle of March. So that is a abiotic factor that affected the lives of the people living here in Milwaukee. So when we look at abiotic factors, we're looking at non-living things. And oftentimes when we're looking at humans, we look at abiotic factors more than biotic factors. And that's because we generate a lot of those abiotic factors ourselves. So here's a little quick chart for you guys to look at that tells you some differences between biotic and abiotic factors. So abiotic factors, we have air. And in our air, we have oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen in large amounts. The water, the amount of light that we're exposed to, with the north and south poles exposed to very little light, and the equator being exposed to much more light, that changes a lot of things. How much wind we're exposed to, the soil, if it's hard or soft soil, if it's fertile or non-fertile soil, the pH, which is the acidity content of the soil, and the rain. So acid rain is a problem too sometimes. Temperature, so how warm or cold it is. Salinity, which is how much salt is found in the water. It's really much more of a factor when it comes to certain bacteria and smaller organisms. Humidity, so how much moisture is in the air, higher in tropical rainforests, much lower in the deserts. Inorganic nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphate are very, very big and important when it comes to soil health. And there's a bunch of other things that I'm sure you guys can think of in relation to this too. Now, for biotic factors, we usually deal with how other organisms interact. This is where we're going to be learning a lot about interactions. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about that coming up here after this lesson. But we have competition between organisms, predators, so predators hunting their prey, symbiosis, which can be found as mutualism, as well as parasitism, and another one known as commensalism, as well as disease agents, the ones that are causing diseases. So we're talking about Staphylococcus aureus, or MRSA, as some people have researched in the Evolution Project. We're talking about the ones that cause you pimple, Staphylococcus pyogenes. So those are disease-causing agents that can be also studied as biotic factors. Now, these assortments, and the reason we study and we look at this and we want to keep organisms alive around us is because we have this thing known as biodiversity. So biodiversity is the assortment of living things in an ecosystem, and we want a lot. Oftentimes when humans come in, they remove a lot of the biodiversity, but that can affect a lot of things, which we're going to learn fairly soon here. But I want you to think about all the different organisms that live in a forest or pond. The more there is, the more biodiverse that ecosystem is. A keystone species. So a keystone species is a species that has a usually large effect on its ecosystems. Beavers often create dams, which then allow other organisms to survive. No other organisms create the dams in the ecosystem, so they actually create water barriers for them too. So that brings us to the end of our notes on ecology here. Please go back and rewatch any of this at any time and ask the teacher for help. Thanks.